there's one question about Tensura that still divides many fans. Why is Diablo so obsessed with Rimuru? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. After all, Rimuru gave him a name. He accepted Diablo as one of his subordinates, and he helped him evolve even further. But there's one huge problem with that explanation. It doesn't actually explain Diablo's behavior, because after that meeting, he stops acting like an ordinary servant. He begins anticipating Rimuru's wishes before they're even spoken. He protects Rimuru's interests as if they were his own. He smiles while carrying out missions that anyone else would consider impossible. And his loyalty goes far beyond simple obedience. Which raises a much bigger question. How did one of the oldest and most powerful beings in existence dedicate his entire life to a slime? The answer isn't his name, nor Rimuru's power. In reality, it began long before they ever met. And once you understand that, you realize Diablo was never searching for a master. He was searching for someone unlike anyone he had ever encountered before. To understand Diablo, we first need to understand who he really is. Long before Rimuru was born, long before the current demon lords ruled, long before most kingdoms even existed, Diablo was already walking this world. As one of the Primordial Demons, a race so ancient that they've witnessed countless wars. Empires rise and fall, heroes become legends, and eventually disappear from history. Most people assume that living for thousands of years would only increase someone's ambition. For Diablo, the opposite happened. After thousands of years, almost nothing could capture his interest anymore. Kings, they all looked the same. Wars, they always ended the same way. People obsessed with power? He had seen countless of them. Even conflicts between the primordials themselves eventually became boring. It was like watching the same play for the 100th time. That's why, unlike most demons, Diablo stopped chasing power. What he truly wanted was something impossible to predict. Something capable of breaking every rule of that world. And that's exactly when Rimuru appeared. The very first time Diablo observed Rimuru, he noticed something no other ruler possessed. Rimuru simply didn't behave like a king. He didn't rule through fear. He never treated his followers as disposable. He never judged others by whether they were humans, monsters, or any other race. To most people, that looked naive. But Diablo saw something much deeper. He had watched thousands of rulers. They all began with noble ideals. They all dreamed of creating a better world. And sooner or later, they all repeated the exact same mistakes. But Rimuru never seemed interested in following that path. He didn't want to conquer the world. He didn't want to prove he was superior. He wasn't searching for recognition. His goal was much simpler: to build a place where everyone could live together. And strangely enough, that simplicity became the rarest thing Diablo had ever witnessed. This is where many fans misunderstand Diablo. When Rimuru gave him a name, many believe that's when everything changed. But was it really? Think about it. Diablo was already one of the strongest beings in existence. He didn't need more power. He didn't need recognition. And he certainly didn't need someone to protect him. So, why did he accept that name? Because to Diablo, the name was never just about evolution. It represented trust. Rimuru gave him something incredibly valuable, without asking for anything in return. He didn't try to control Diablo. He didn't treat him as a weapon. He didn't even question his intentions. He simply trusted him. Immediately. And that was something entirely new. For thousands of years, Diablo had watched kings manipulate allies. He had watched rulers sacrifice loyal followers. He had watched friendships destroyed by power. But Rimuru did the exact opposite. That was the moment Diablo realized something. Maybe this slime really was different. There's another reason why Rimuru fascinates Diablo. His unpredictability. The greatest strategists can usually predict what a king will do. They understand their ambitions, their limits, their decisions. But Rimuru constantly makes choices that defy all logic. He spares enemies when everyone expects revenge. He helps people without asking for anything in return. He turns former enemies into trusted allies. He builds relationships where others would start wars. To many, that looks like weakness. But Diablo understands something very few people do. It's exactly that way of thinking that allows Rimuru to win people over in ways strength never could. Every decision changes the world around him, even when he doesn't realize it himself. And Diablo watches it all unfold, as if he were witnessing the birth of a completely new era. From that point on, their relationship stops being one of master and servant. Diablo begins acting on his own initiative. He plans, negotiates, manipulates, builds strategies, always thinking about Rimuru's future. And there's a reason for that. Diablo believes Rimuru represents something much greater than a ruler. He represents a possibility. A world where strength alone doesn't determine someone's worth. A world where different races can truly coexist. Where alliances are built through respect, instead of fear. For someone who spent thousands of years watching the same cycle repeat itself, that was nothing short of a miracle. That's why Diablo's loyalty seems so extreme. Because it isn't devoted only to Rimuru. It's devoted to the future Rimuru could create. Perhaps that's why Diablo never hesitates. Never regrets his choices. Never questions Rimuru's decisions. He has seen kings rise. Empires collapse. Heroes disappear. But he had never met someone like Rimuru. Someone who wins allies without inspiring fear. Who turns enemies into friends. Who changes the world, without even realizing how much influence he truly has. In the end, the real reason behind Diablo's obsession was never the name he received, nor the power he gained. It was the certainty that, after thousands of years searching for something truly different, he had finally found an existence capable of changing history itself. And perhaps that's why Diablo always smiles whenever he looks at Rimuru. Because he knows, he isn't simply following a king. He's witnessing the birth of a legend.